Okay, so let's talk about the cell theory. It's been around since the 1800s and it's still holding strong. So there's a couple ideas that are basically encompassed by the cell theory. And the first is going to be that all living things are made up of cells. The second one's going to be cells are the basic units of life, which we've talked about previously. And third, all cells come from pre-existing cells, meaning there's no spontaneous generation. So even though the cells are the building blocks of life, they are not all the same, but they do share some common features. So every cell is going to have a plasma membrane, which we talked about previously. They all have a cytoplasm, which is just a jelly-like substance where most of the chemical reactions are occurring. And they're also going to have some kind of genetic information or material, usually DNA. Not all cells store their DNA the same way. And based on this difference is how we get two categories of cell types, prokaryotes versus eukaryotes. So prokaryotes are going to be our really ancient type of cell. So these guys include organisms from both domains that we talked about, bacteria and archaea. They're generally smaller and simpler than eukaryotes, and their simplicity is actually a huge advantage because they can reproduce really, really fast and they can adapt very quickly. So this is why we have bacteria pretty much everywhere, from your skin all the way down into deep sea vents. So some bacteria do have a negative connotation associated with them because they cause disease. So things like Streptococcus, which can lead to strep throat, or even E. coli. But bacteria are incredibly useful. So we even have bacteria that colonize our gastrointestinal tract, which help digest our own food. We have others that help clean up oil spills in the ocean, and we even use bacteria to help make yogurt, insulin, and antibiotics. So what's inside a typical bacterial cell? Well, it's going to have the cytoplasm. It's going to be surrounded by a plasma membrane and a cell wall, which is going to help it keep its shape. Some bacteria are going to have a capsule. This is just an extra protective layer that helps them stick to surfaces or, unfortunately, hide from our immune system. It's also, instead of a nucleus, they're going to have their DNA housed in a region that's called the nucleoid. It's not enclosed in a membrane, it's just a single circular chromosome floating around. They still have ribosomes. These are the site of protein synthesis, and they can have some appendages. So if they have flagella, these are usually to help them swim. They can have fimbriae, which help them stick to surfaces. They can also have conjugation pili, which allow them to swap DNA with other bacteria. This is also how antibiotic resistance genes can spread so quickly. So we've talked about eukaryotic cells previously, but if we're talking about them more specifically, they're going to belong to protists, fungi, plants, and animals, including us. So eukaryotic cells are usually larger, they're going to be more complex, and they have a really big upgrade because they have a membrane-bound nucleus, meaning that it's going to safely house the DNA inside of it, which really is going to set them apart because they're compartmentalized. And we have a bunch of different organelles. So the organelles are grouped into 4 major categories based on their function. So we have the nucleus and ribosomes. These are going to help make the proteins. We have the endomembrane system. So this is going to include our endoplasmic reticulum and our Golgi apparatus, which is going to help make and process and ship out our proteins and lipids. We have energy-related organelles like our mitochondria and our chloroplast if we're talking about plant cells. And we also have a cytoskeleton, which is really just an internal framework or the skeleton of a cell that helps keep everything organized. It's also going to help with cell movement and during division. And this is showing you just a plant eukaryotic cell.